Hey guys, welcome to my Manly 2021 season review. Yeah, nothing to say, let's just jump straight into it. So, like the past few, I'm not going to read the stats, they're just there for you. But, yeah, looking at the stats, it's a very just consistent season, right, for what you would think of a top four side. Like, I think it's 55 more tries scored than conceded, more meters run than conceded, higher possession rate, high completion rate, a lot of offloads. Right? So, like, just a very general what you would expect from a team that's competing for the top four and fighting for that, fighting for that top four spot and sort of sitting in that fifth, sixth sort of range, And obviously they did make top four, right? So yeah, statistically nothing really stands out. The only thing that I guess is a bit interesting is when it comes to both tries scored and conceded, they were a lot worse in the first half. So Manly were definitely slow starters this year. Like, I can't remember exactly how it's split, but it's something like they conceded double the amount of tries in the first half than the second half, and then they also scored the least amount of tries in the first 20 minutes of each game, compared to the rest of the game. The rest of the game, their tries were pretty evenly spread, but yeah, that first 20 minutes, they just didn't score as often. So, yeah, slow starters, had to build into their games throughout the season, but, once they built into it, they were, a force to be reckoned with, right? We all know what they did. We all know the certain players that they have. A certain player in particular we'll talk about later. But yeah, overall just solid season from a team that, was competing for the top four and made the top four. Right. And so first individual we'll talk about, Des Hasler. A great coach. Honestly, I think he's a fantastic coach. I don't think he'll ever be considered in the top coaches with the likes of maybe like a Bellamy or a Wayne Bennett and stuff like that. But, I definitely think his name could be thrown in contention there. Like, he is a fantastic coach. Like, when he was first at Manly, they made a grand final, 3 times or something like that, winning 2, something like that, or winning 1. They had the greatest grand final win in history, which was 40-0 or whatever it was against Melbourne in, what was that, 2009, I think? 2009, 2008, something like that. I can't remember exactly when it was. But yeah, the greatest grand final win of all time. Obviously, he went to the Bulldogs. He made the grand final with the Bulldogs. I think twice. Was it twice? I think it was once against Melbourne, once against Storm, if I remember correctly. Once against Melbourne, once against the Rabbitohs, if I remember correctly. I think I can't remember exactly off the top of my head. But, made the finals with the Bulldogs on many occasions. Right, obviously his final year or two with the Bulldogs was a bit, how you going? But overall, he's a fantastic coach, and he's proved it by going back to this Manly team and, taking them to the top four. So, yeah, excellent coach. Will he ever be considered one of the best coaches of all time? I don't think so, but I definitely think his name should be tossed up there because of the things he's done. He's been he's been a phenomenal coach for many years. And, I think he'll be a phenomenal coach for many more. Excellent coach. Yeah, there's really nothing much else to say about Desi. All right. First player, their captain, Daly Cherry Evans. He is one of the most hot and cold players in the NRL, I reckon. Like, when he's on, he can be the best player in the NRL. Genuinely. When he's on, he is, top quality, genuinely one of the best. But he's just way too inconsistent. Especially for considering he's a bit older, you'd think he'd have that experience. He'd have that experience. He'd have that composure. But no, he's just massively inconsistent. But yeah, on his day, phenomenal. But his day is just very how you going. Especially these past few seasons, instead of having full games these days, he more just has. Oh, excuse me, sorry. But yeah, instead of having full games these days, he just has moments in games. Don't get me wrong; those moments are phenomenal, but they're moments. All right, so yeah, I really don't know what to think of Cherry Evans. Excellent player on his day, but yeah, just in my opinion, way too inconsistent. Yeah. All right, next is Jake Trbojevic. I would say he's the backbone of Manly. I would say without him, they would not be the side that they are. Right, similar to like Radley for the Roosters, Isaiah Yeo for Penrith. Yeah, I think he's the backbone. He links their attack. He's got a very smart football mind. He knows when to take the hit up so things can be set up outside him. Defensively, he's strong. Defensively, he covers so much. Origin player, Australia player. Yeah, Drake Trbojevic, phenomenal. I don't think he gets as much credit as he probably should, obviously because of his brother, who we'll talk about a bit later. But yeah, Jake Trbojevic, backbone of Manly. If he were to get injured or if he were to leave, I think that would be absolutely devastating for Manly, because he's one of those players that I don't think you can replace, like easily at least. You'd have to go out and find someone. He's in the level of like a Dale Finucane or something, where he's just that leader of the pack, leader of that team out on the field sort of thing. So yeah, excellent player, doesn't get the credit he deserves because of his brother, but yeah, backbone of Manly in my opinion. And next is an underrated player in my opinion, honestly, and that is Marty Tapau. I don't think he gets the credit he deserves when it comes to front rowers in the NRL. I actually think he's one of the top front rowers in the competition. There are many times where Manly would be down on their luck, and he'd get the ball, he'd ruck it out, 15, 20 metre run, quick play the ball, let them, and get them running off the back of it, or he'd earn a penalty or something like that, Don't get me wrong, obviously he has a few mistakes in his game, he has a few penalties in his game and stuff like that, but yeah, overall, I think Marty Tapau is a fantastic player. I don't think he gets the credit he deserves. And yeah, excellent player. I'd love to have him at the Bulldogs one day. I think this year is his last year at Manly. I don't think they're renewing his contract, which is really surprising to me, especially since they lost Fanua Blake last year. So I'm surprised by that. I'm pretty sure they haven't offered him a new contract, I think. I'm pretty sure I remember reading it somewhere. I could be wrong with that, but yeah. Yeah, phenomenal player. If I was Manly, I'd be trying to keep him because I think he's a phenomenal player. Puts the team on his back, wears his heart on his sleeve. You always know you're going to get 110% from him. And yeah, excellent player. Next player we're going to talk about just briefly, Reuben Garrick. Just going to mention him because he did become the top point scorer in a single season of the NRL, which really upsets me because El Masri had it. And obviously as a Bulldogs fan, I love El Masri. But yeah, Reuben Garrick. Yeah, honestly, good player. Is he a great player? I don't think so. Not yet, at least. I definitely think he has the ability to become a great player and like a great winger. He had some moments. Like, what was it? It was who was it against? I don't remember. It was like that final game. I think it won try of the year where, I think it was against Cowboys, where the kick's gone through, he's run back, he's recovered it, he's tiptoed down the dead ball line, run it back 50 metres, 60 metres, whatever, got it to Cherry Evans, and, it's gone on from there. Right? So, just moments like that, Garrick is just a guy that I think he knows that he's not the most talented player in the world, so he's going to put in that extra effort to sort of, earn his keep, if that makes sense. But yeah, just a brief mention for him. Obviously broke the points record for the season. Yeah, good player, great goal kicker in my opinion. I think he's a very fantastic goal kicker. But yeah, so just credit to him breaking that points record. Obviously, it's a bit easy when you have the likes of Turbo, shifting you the ball and stuff like that. But it has to be said, well done that he's done it. Because there are some players that wouldn't have done it even with the likes of Turbo in the team. So Alright, next player, Dylan Walker. He's had a bit of a resurgence this past season or two at the 14 spot. Right, I think for a while after leaving the Rabbitohs, after they won that grand final, he was sort of thrown into this group of has-beens or never were's sort of thing, where he was he was only good in that good team sort of thing like that. But he's had a bit of a resurgence, and I've got to respect it. Me personally, I'm not really a fan of Dylan Walker. That's just me personally. I just don't really like him. I don't think he's that great. But it has to be said that he has had a bit of a resurgence, and he did play very well this season. There were moments where he'd come off the bench and he'd be the X factor that would get Manly rolling, get the ball rolling for Manly, right? So that has to be credited. But yeah, so decent player. Personally, not a fan of him, but yeah, had a really good season. I think he's really found his home in that 14 jersey for Manly. Alright, and the last player, Dally M, medal winner this year, Tom Trbojevic. Freak. That's all you can say about him. He's a freak. It doesn't matter what's going on the field. If he gets the ball, he's breaking 6 or 7 tackles and somehow scoring, Like, he's fast, he's got a passing game, he knows where to be at all times. Like, at Origin he was doing it as well. He's just, phenomenal player. If he can keep this level for the next 2-3 seasons, then, he goes on to be one of the best fullbacks, if not the best fullback of all time. Like, genuinely. Like, it sounds weird. Like, if he can keep up this momentum for the next 2-3 seasons, and then, obviously maybe might die out a bit as he gets a bit older, but, he still sort of keeps this level, then, there's no doubt he could go down as one of the best fullbacks of all time, because, like, players like, Billy Slater, fantastic when they were younger. As they got older, they sort of slowed down a bit when they lost a bit of pace, and all that sort of stuff, and they sort of changed their game a bit to still stay at the top. So if Turbo can do that, no reason he couldn't be considered one of the best fullbacks in the game. And at the moment, I think he is. He's, for me, top 3 player, along with Teddy and Cleary. I think at any given time, you could chop or change all 3 of them. But yeah, so Dally M winner, well deserved. There's really not much else to say. Just incredible player. Also just a genuine nice guy as well. I've met him once, and genuine nice guy, incredible player, and just a freak. Alright. Alright. And then so overall thoughts on this season. They performed better than I thought. I thought they'd finish 6th. I predicted them to finish 6th, so obviously they finished 4th. I'm pretty sure with 2 weeks to go they were coming 6th. And then because of a few losses and stuff like that, they were able to jump up because of losses from like the Eels and the Roosters, I think. So they were able to jump up to 4th. But yeah, I guess in general, sort of expected finish. I thought they'd be in that top 6 sort of area. So yeah, they finished up there, and expected. Insane attacking season from them. Like as I sort of mentioned with a couple of players, they have attacking options across the park, like obviously Turbo's there. Oh, excuse me, sorry. Turbo's there, Ruben Garrick's there, Saab on the other wing is there. I think Harper was phenomenal this season, and I can't remember the name of the guy on the other side. I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but he had a really good season, just really consistent. And then obviously Dylan Walker coming off the bench, bringing on that little bit of spark, that little bit of X factor. It was phenomenal for them across the board. So yeah. Insane attacking season. I think they had the most tries this season, maybe second most to the Storm or something like that. But yeah, insane attacking season, and it'll be interesting to see what they do next season. Yep. And then the last thing I want to touch on is what happens to Manly if Turbo does get injured again. Yeah, because he is a bit injury prone. Right, he's had the hamstring, he had I think it was a shoulder or something like that, I can't remember off the top of my head, but he's had a couple of injuries, he's had the same injury a few times, right, so, there is that fear of, what if he gets injured again, where does that leave Manly, and, I think especially next year, it'll be dire, right, because I think after this year, I think just as a coach, you would sort of look at it and be like, look, you were phenomenal last year, we're going to build around you sort of thing. I feel like that's just sort of what you have to do when a player has a season like that and just performs at the level that he did. Right? So, I could see them next year, this season coming up, really building around Turbo, trying to work all these different plays around Turbo and all this sort of stuff. And then if he were to get injured, realistically, there's no one there that could fill that void. Like, I know Ruben Garrick's gone to fullback a couple times. He can't do what Turbo can do. Like, no offense to Garrick, but he just can't. Alright, so, if Turbo gets injured again, we saw it at the start of the season. They struggled without him. And obviously, once he got back, once they built a bit of momentum, they built into the season, right? But yeah, if he gets injured, and if it's for a long period of time, who knows? That could, it could genuinely be Manly's season. Like, done and dusted there if he gets injured. But yeah, only time will tell. Alright, but that's my Manly 2021 season review. I hope you enjoyed it. Like with all these, let me know if there's anything you think I should add, anything I should remove. You know, like I've always said, I make these for a bit of fun. I make them for you guys. So, yeah, let me know in the comments, you know, your thoughts on Manly season, any particular players, you know, anything about the stats, how you think they'll go this year, you know, stuff like that. But yeah, with that one, guys, that's it. So, yeah, take it easy, guys, and have a good one.